We're back with another edition of Browns Instant Insights, WFNY Podcast Edition. And Joe, we are now 6-3 on the season. 6-3 in the WFNY Podcast Edition of the Instant Insights. So I don't know if it's the Browns, I don't know if it's us, but I think the combination is winning football. And that's what we want in Cleveland, right?
That's all we want, man. 6-3. Today's game was a little bit ugly, but hey, a win is a win. You get to the sixth win, and we're 6-3 going into next week.
I think you were being a little bit nice when you said a little bit ugly. I'd put that as pure ugliness.
Old school football, right?
Old school football. Yeah, we'll take it as that. Yeah, but the Browns just beat the Texans 10-7 and a crazy weather day. I mean, a lightning delay. When was the last time a lightning delay for an NFL game, let alone a Cleveland Browns football game?
Right. Yeah, usually it's like in Miami. They get it occasionally, but I think the last Browns one was that I can remember was like a preseason game where I think that game ended early. But yeah, that was super odd, and it just came right when the game started too.
So speaking of preseason, the Browns used to be fighting for preseason championships. Now it's 6-3. They're fighting for a playoff spot.
I know.
That is crazy. There's no other way to put it. That's crazy, right?
Yeah. And I usually have been watching at this point in the season, scoreboard watching for the draft, but now I'm scoreboard watching for the playoffs. So it's a great spot we're in. So today we're watching Dolphins and the Raiders playing. Hopefully they lose, but yeah, it's great to be talking playoffs rather than draft in week 10 now.
Yeah, I told that with my podcast with Jake Burns earlier this week. I was like, or earlier, like a couple days ago, I was like, yeah, it's weird to scoreboard watch and like want teams to lose. Usually at this point in the season, your scoreboard watching and be like, no, you have to win. The Browns have to lose, and you guys have to win, please.
Yeah, it's a great position we're in, man.
It's weird. I don't know. There's no other way to put it. It's just weird.
Yeah.
All right, but with this game today, it was bound to be ugly. We knew it was going to be ugly. I mean, Vegas, the over-under went from 55 it opened at 55, and it ended at 40. So it was bound to be a low-scoring game given the weather. And, I mean, that's what it turned into. But with that, Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, you couldn't have asked for a better two-headed monster in the backfield. It didn't matter what Baker Mayfield did. With Chubb and Hunt, it was domination, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was like a carbon copy of 2 weeks ago, but the difference was two things. Was we had Nick Chubb and Wyatt Teller back, so the run game was the leading force of the offense, and then the defense actually stepped up and made stops on third and fourth down, which was huge for them. But yeah, it's great to have Nick Chubb back. Just having Hunt as the number 2, as like the second punch, is just miles way better. They can stay fresh throughout the game, and it showed late in the fourth quarter where in that last drive where they could just put the game away just by running the ball, and it showed that the running game was back to the form that it was in the first 5 games that we saw with Chubb and Hunt leading the way. It was great to see.
I mean, Houston's defense obviously isn't that good, but when you have a 1-2 punch like Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt in the backfield, 2 guys that can just stay fresh all game, so in the fourth quarter, when the defense is worn down and you still have 2 dominant running backs who are both fresh, I mean, that's all you have to do. Honestly, the weather today stunk. If you were at the game, I'm sure it was miserable, but that's the type of game and weather that the Browns probably love. It slows down the opposing offense, and it helps the run game on offense. So it's like the perfect combination when you have a struggling defense and a passing game without OBJ, right?
Yeah. They want to have games where their run game is the focal point and the thing that can lead their offense. And today was the perfect day for that. The Browns could just run all over the field, especially late in the game. You could tell for like the first half, it wasn't going as well. But as the game wore on, I think Houston got tired, and the Browns just kept pounding the rock, and it was good news for them. And they just played so well in the late in the fourth quarter when they needed it.
For sure. I mean, even if Baker Mayfield was average. He was like, he was 12 of 20, 132 yards. But the thing there, he didn't really make any glaring mistakes. He had a couple overthrows, but he didn't throw an interception. He just let the offense do their job and let their running game dominate, and that's all he had to do. Like we discussed earlier in the season, at some points Baker Mayfield will have to win a game for the Browns, which he did one or two times already. But in a game like today and in weather like today, just don't make mistakes and just let Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt just dominate.
Yeah, and that was the difference because he didn't make any mistakes. He didn't put Houston in good field position, so that was great to see. And it showed it wasn't just Baker struggling the throw. Deshaun Watson had 163 yards total passing, which is incredibly low for a quarterback of his status. So yeah, it was just a rough time for passing the ball, and that's why making smart decisions, which he did. He didn't really risk any bad passes. He missed a couple throws, but obviously making no mistakes and letting the run game take over was key for the Browns to win this game today.
On the topic of Deshaun Watson, I'd like to pour one out for him because Bill O'Brien traded away DeAndre Hopkins, one of the best receivers in the NFL, and figured, we'll just replace DeAndre Hopkins with Randall Cobb and Brandon Cooks. And Will Fuller. I guess Will Fuller is good, but he's not a number one receiver.
No, there's no replacing Hopkins. Hopkins is a top 5 receiver, top 3 maybe. And yeah, you're not replacing him. And it was a bad trade at that time, and it's even worse as the season's gone on. He just that was his safety blanket, throwing it to him, and he doesn't have one now. And it's showing.
The Browns have made some bad trades and have had some bad front offices, and Bill O'Brien would be right up there with them.
Oh, yeah, his tenure with the Texans was just terrible. He left that team in just ruins. So with a quarterback and like nothing else to improve. They have no draft picks hardly in the next couple drafts, and it's going to be hard to build around their franchise quarterback, which I feel bad for Deshaun.
But hey, at least it's not the Browns we're talking about, right? I mean,
right.
It is so Browns to do something like that. Browns.
Yeah.
Hey, we have a franchise quarterback, and let's trade away a number one receiver and one of the best receivers in the NFL just to make things tougher for our franchise quarterback.
Right. Yeah. It's wild to see some other organization actually have that problem.
Awesome. But all right, so the Browns defense actually looked decent today. I mean, it was a sight to see. It was a sight for our eyes. I'm not used to watching a defense that only gives up 7 points in a game.
Yeah. They stepped up. They stepped up when they needed to. They didn't give up any big plays or anything like that. And they kept Deshaun under wraps for most of the game. He didn't have any of those big plays where he's prone to have each game. He had one late in the fourth quarter, which they scored on that drive. But overall, he was held. He wasn't able to run, scramble around or anything, make plays with his legs. So it was a great for this defense. It was a great performance. I didn't think they could be able to do this, but it was great to see. And they didn't. The difference between the last 2 weeks ago and this week was they were able to get off the field and finish drives rather than giving up third downs and fourth downs. So great to see that they could do that, and hopefully they can get even more healthy with Greedy and Jacobs coming back in a couple weeks, and they can play even better.
I don't know if I can count on Greedy coming back. 5 weeks ago they said, it'll just be a couple weeks. It'll just be next week.
Yeah.
I mean, it'll be awesome if he does come back. The Browns badly need him in the secondary. I mean, they need an average player in the secondary, and I think Greedy can be a solid cornerback next to Denzel Ward. But I don't know. I don't want to count on it just yet.
Yeah, that's why I said a couple weeks, hopefully.
All right, so the Houston, they're 2-7 now. You can say, oh, the Browns beat another bad team. But like we said a few weeks ago, the Browns used to be one of those bad teams.
Yeah.
It used to be, oh, you only beat the Browns. That doesn't really count as a win. In the NFL, a win's a win.
Right.
It doesn't say the Browns are 6-3 and beat 2 or 3 bad teams. It says the Browns are 6-3.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, a win is a win, and you take it in the NFL. You take a win any way it comes. And these games last how many years? We'd be losing it. We wouldn't be able to beat the bad teams. So it's great it's a huge improvement, and you got to just take care of business of what you're supposed to take care of business of, and keep improving, and then take your chances versus the better teams. But yeah, the 6-3, you can't complain about that.
For sure. I mean, beating the bad teams is progress, like you said. They're still not on the level of the Steelers and Ravens. They've proven that this season, at least when both teams are fully healthy. Well, I guess the Browns aren't fully healthy, but for the most part. But beating the bad teams is just progress. Even if you go 8-8 and all 8 of your wins are against bad teams, it's still progress from years past when the Browns just couldn't win football games, let alone beat bad teams. So I'm all for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so 6-3. And I noticed they're 4-1 at home. In a season where home field advantage doesn't really mean that much, because if there are fans in the stands, it's like a fifth of the capacity. Being 4-1 at home is quite impressive.
It is, yeah. It's taking care of home field advantage, and obviously the advantage is not as big, but today it was, because that weather was terrible again. So the Browns might actually have a home field advantage going forward, with the weather getting worse and worse, and that as we talked about earlier, that lends to our run game, and our way of winning games. So we might have a bigger home field advantage than other teams. So it's great to see them taking care of business so far.
I think the 2 biggest things in bad weather is controlling the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball and the running game. And I think the 3 strongest suits for the Browns are their running game, offensive line, defensive line. So, like I said, if you're going to the game, you don't want it to be bad weather. But as a Browns fan watching on TV, you love bad weather games.
Yeah. It just it allows the defense to not be shredded through the air, pass game, and it lets the Browns just run the ball throughout the game, pound the rock, and get that opposing defense tired. So it's trending to be a good fit with this weather and this team's buildup.
For sure. Yeah, looking at the running game, they had Nick Chubb returning from his injury. I forget, was he out 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever it was?
4 weeks, I think.
4 weeks plus the bye week.
Yeah.
So what did you have? Okay.
Yeah.
So he was out basically 5 weeks. Kareem Hunt still healthy. They split the carries evenly, 19 and 19. Combined, they had 230 rushing yards. I mean, you can't ask for anything more than that.
No, yeah. And I think it was split up because I think Chubb he was a little rusty, and he said that early on in the game, that he was rusty, trying to get all the rust off after not playing 5 weeks total. So it was good to see that they could split the carries, and then he seemed to really turn it on late in the third and definitely the fourth quarter. So I think that his carries will increase, obviously, over the time, and he'll probably get more carries. But I give credit to Stefanski. He knew the hot hand was Hunt, especially early on, and he kept him on the field, even though you would think, oh, we gotta keep Chubb on the field. But yeah, it was great to see that he was making mid-game adjustments, and definitely giving the ball to the hot hand. And I think, once again, I don't know how many times we've said it this year, he outcoached the opposing team. Romeo Crennel had one of the worst games I've ever seen in decision making. and
Romeo Cornell.
oh my god,
I forgot about him.
Yeah, and
holy cow! I totally forgot he was a head coach or the interim head coach in Houston. But go on.
Yeah, and Stefanski, he didn't make any bit. His play calling's got a little dry and a little too bland and vanilla, but he didn't make any big crazy decisions, and he relied on the team's strengths, which was the run game, and then he knew the weather was bad, so he didn't tempt it, and the other team did. I don't know what Romeo Cornell was doing, but he kicking like a 48-yarder in the wind. It was just one of the dumbest decisions I've ever seen. And wasting a timeout on a 4th and 4 at midfield where the Browns were definitely not going to go for it. It just showed that coaching matters, and the coaching mattered today, and Stefanski won that matchup.
I just looked it up. Romeo Cornell is 73 years old. I don't care if he's an interim coach. I don't care if he's he should not be a head coach.
He might be a
defensive coordinator. Okay.
He might be their coach next year, according to some reports. Is just
I know this is off topic, and I know this is going to make Bodie happy, but I'm going to bring up baseball. If Tony La Russa can manage a team in the MLB, Romeo Cornell can be a head coach in the NFL.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know if either of them can, but yeah, I guess so.
But you know what? I hope the Chicago Bears just hire him. Do it. Have both the oldest coaches in the leagues be in Chicago. It would be awesome.
That would be funny.
All right, but I'm with that. The Browns used to be that bad team. The Browns used to always get out coached. Always. It was like
always.
It wasn't even a question. It was like, oh, did the Browns get out coached today? Yep.
Right.
I'm sure there was a Twitter account. It probably was like, did the Browns get out coached today? And all the answers would just be yes. It's
just they had to overcome coaching every single time. And it's great to see that the coach is actually helping the team. So that's a huge positive going forward.
It is just so refreshing to see a Browns team out coaching another team. I don't care if it's 73-year-old Romeo Cornell. I don't care if it's Bill Belichick. It's awesome to see.
Yeah, it's awesome to see. It shows that I think the Browns, cross my fingers, that they made the right choice this season, and they have their coach.
Please go knock on wood right now, Joe. Please. Thank you. I needed that. All right. But yeah, I mean, the Browns are 6-3. They beat a bad Texans team, but hey, like we said, a W is a W.
6-3 and going into 2 winnable games, playing Eagles and Jags next 2 weeks. So 8-3 is not a hard thought to think of right now.
And 8-3, I couldn't even tell you the last time the Browns had 8 wins in the season, let alone 8-3 in a season.
Were they? I think they were 8-3 2 years ago, weren't they? When Baker, or were they?
I don't know. I'd have to look it up. I honestly have no idea. But yeah, it's just. I know you said you're going to the game next weekend, but I hope that every game from here on out is weather like it was today.
I know it would help, right? Especially with Wentz throwing passes next week. He could if they try to throw it in that wind, we could see multiple interceptions.
Wentz is about to make the Browns defense look like the freaking Chicago Bears of old.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. Today's game you could classify it as boring. It was boring. It was old school football, but the Browns dominated. That's all you had to do. Right. Oh, speaking of, it was only a 3-point win. So I poured one out earlier for Bill O'Brien. Let's pour one out for all of the Nick Chubb fantasy football owners and all of the people that had the Browns -4.5, which is what the spread closed down in Vegas. Because they lost that game, or they lost their bet because Nick Chubb, instead of scoring a touchdown with a minute left, ran out of bounds at the 1-yard line.
Yeah, you could tell on Twitter who was the who were betting on that game and who had him in fantasy league. It was a stark contrast between all the just the analysts that knew that was the smart play.
Oh yeah, it was absolutely the smart play unless you had him in fantasy or unless you had the Browns minus 4.5. Then it was the dumbest play of the game.
Oh yeah,
that play will be on Bad Beats on Sports Center tonight. Scott Van Pelt will be talking about it.
oh yeah, definitely.
But yeah, right when I saw that happen, I was like, "Oh my gosh, there's going to be so many angry fantasy football owners and gamblers."
So many, and they were in my timeline.
That luckily I don't have Nick Chubb in any of my leagues, and I did not put money on the Browns today, so I'm free on that one. But yeah, if I had Nick Chubb today and I lose by like less than 6, whew. I know he even acknowledged it after the game. He said, "Hey, I feel bad for those guys, but we got the W, and that's all that matters." And he's right. He doesn't care about fantasy football. Let's be honest. They talk about it sometimes, but he doesn't care.
No, he doesn't. None of the players care about what their fantasy is.
No.
Yeah.
So, Browns are 6-3, just like we do every week. The schedule game.
Oh yeah.
Like I said when we first started this, it's usually like, oh, hey, the Browns are going to go 13-3 this season, and they end up going like 2-14. But the optimism is actually real this time. Like you feel it. You think the Browns. It's not just like the Browns are going to do this. It's like the Browns can do this.
All right. Let's put on our glasses here and just be happy. Glass half full. If we win our next 2 games, okay, we're 8-3. And then we have
knock on wood.
All right. That leaves two games to get to 10 wins, and we have the Giants and the Jets on the schedule still. So, Browns fans, this 10 wins is not the hardest thing to get to. Obviously, they got to take care of business like they did today. But hey, it's there for the taking. So keep the hope up, everybody. Hope for the Dolphins and Raiders lose today to help the Browns playoff hopes. But yeah, it's fun to watch being the playoff chase in NFL football rather than baseball or NBA or anything like that in Cleveland.
And we are not talking about the NBA today, or as we are not doing it. We are not. Nope, that will not be brought up in this podcast. We
NBA draft's coming this week.
No, I'm talking about a specific Cavs player, but we will not. We will not say names.
Yeah, let's not
All
right, talk about
but
that.
Back to the Dolphins. Shout out to former Waiting for Next Year writer Jeff Namina. I hope the Dolphins go winless the rest of the year.
Yeah.
All right, but seriously,
we need them to lose.
The schedule game: Eagles, very winnable. At Jaguars. If the Browns are a playoff team, I'd say that's a must win.
Mm-hmm.
The Jags are bad. At Tennessee, Titans, they're like the Browns. They're just such a roller coaster. Like Derrick Henry, really good. Their defense, Even with Jadeveon Clowney, their defense is very mediocre.
Yeah, they're a roller coaster. That's a great way to describe them. They 1 week they look like one of the top 3 teams in the AFC, and then the next week they look like they are a struggling team that are just battling for the playoffs. So it'll be looking forward to there. It'll be a fun one to watch, but we got 2 games ahead of that, and we got to take care of business of that first.
All right, we're not the Browns team. We can look ahead, Joe. Come on.
That's true. All
right, so after the Titans, we have the Ravens. My only hope for the Ravens game is that. Wait, is that a Monday night game?
Yeah,
I thought it was a Thursday night game. Oh, I thought it was a. Jeez, I thought it was gonna be a short week. Ooh, man.
Yeah.
All right, we won't talk about that Raiders game then. A Monday night game, 8 days rest. Whew. All right, then you had the Giants and Jets. And this would make for a good discussion. If the Giants and Jets combined, would they be a playoff team? Yes or no?
In the NFC East.
Oh, I guess you could pick divisions too.
Yeah.
The NFC
Other than
East
that,
is like the
other
junior
than that,
varsity.
no.
I
Yeah,
mean, I think I could get a group of college kids and they could win the freaking AFC East at this point. Or
because
NFC East, I mean.
the Giants are right in the running for it, even without the Jets' help.
But in a regular division, I think the Giants are average. Granted, they don't have Saquon. That's a huge loss. But the Jets
are terrible.
They're bad.
They're one of the worst teams I've seen in a while, and I've watched some Browns teams that are some bad teams. They might be worse than the worst Browns team. Which is saying something.
Whoa. I mean, I guess if you do have Joe Flacco starting at quarterback and this time of year, you could compete with the bad Browns teams.
Right. I just want Browns fans go home. If you're at home, go through that roster and try to see if you know at least 5 of those players. I don't think you can.
I guarantee you, when looking at the roster, you'll have the Adam Gase meme face where you're just like. I guarantee you'll be able to make it as you're looking through that roster.
Oh yeah, that's one of the worst roster, especially on defense. Like I know like 2 names, and that's pretty bad for me.
Wait, speaking of looking at their roster, I'm trying to think. They have Joe Flacco. Do they have Frank Gore? Or who has Frank Gore? Oh man, talk about old people like Romeo Crennel. Frank Gore's got to be mid-50s. No, I'm not. I'm kidding. He's only 40 something. But the fact that he's getting big time carries shows you how bad the Jets are.
Yeah, Frank Gore. Yeah, Frank Gore and Frank. Who would think Flacco and Frank Gore are backfield? That's not great.
As I said, that's the Adam Gase meme face.
Yeah. And they let their best receiver go last year. He's in Carolina now. So yeah, it's the Browns should roll them.
As we're pouring one out, that seems to be a common theme. Let's pour one out for Sam Darnold. Talk about having no weapons. Even if he was a good quarterback, he has nothing there.
Nothing.
And he has Adam Gase calling the plays. That is just
that's the worst combination ever.
It literally is. I think if you can come up with the worst combination in the NFL, it would be Adam Gase calling plays and that wide receiver group.
Right. He's getting Tim Couch to an even greater degree. It's just hard to watch. I feel so bad for him. I feel like he could be one of the guys that goes on another team and actually plays solidly. But yeah, he is a broken man right now with what they got on that team.
It's gotten so bad in New York that people are saying that literally if the Jets had the number 1 pick, Clemson quarterback, Trevor Lawrence, should not declare for the NFL draft. That's how bad it is.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be a long road for them to get back in the good graces of the AFC.
Let's get a live look at Adam Gase when Trevor Lawrence announces that he's going back to Clemson for his senior year. No, but seriously,
he's gonna make it this. That's even if he makes it through the season.
True. As the Jets front office, they're smart for having Adam Gase be the head coach because it's you can tank without tanking.
No, right? They had no effort to tank. It's just they just put him in and just let it go. They can get all their losses under his tutelage.
How do we get on this topic? Holy cow. No, but seriously. All right, if the Browns are a playoff team, Jaguars, Giants, Jets, all must wins.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you can just win 1 or 2. Oh, and then we have one more in the schedule game. Steelers, week 17. It always seems like the Browns play the Steelers week 17.
Every year. And usually it's for they need to lose to them to get a better draft position. I remember 2 years ago or 3 years now, where they had to lose to get the number 1 pick. And they tried really hard to lose too, and they did. They got Myles Garrett for it, so thank you for that. But yeah, this year they might be in a position where Pittsburgh is sitting their players because they are winning again today, and hopefully they continue to do that, and they can just sit there and sit all their players, and the Browns can get a very nice help from them.
Yeah, I know. I discussed this with Jake last Friday too. You don't as an Ohio State fan, the more Michigan loses, the happier I am. But as a Browns fan, I know it's a huge rivalry. But the more the Steelers win, the better it is for the Browns. I mean, let's be honest. The Steelers basically already had the division locked up. Well, they have a top 2 spot in the division locked up. It's going to be really tough for the Browns to catch up to them. So if the Steelers keep winning, they're right now 8-0. They're about to be they're up 29-7. They're about to be 9-0. If they keep winning, they're going to play all their second and third stringers week 17, which makes things so easy for the Browns.
Oh yeah, and especially if there's only one bye this year, so hopefully they have that notched up too, and they can definitely sit their players for 2 weeks there. But yeah, the schedule. We've talked about it. The schedule could really help the Browns this year. A lot of times, how many years have we seen that the schedule just it's like a killer for them? But yeah, the schedule is playing right into their hands, and as we said earlier, we got to take advantage of it.
Yeah, I mean, if they beat those 3 teams that they should beat, and then somehow split the Titans and Ravens, and then play a Steelers team that is sitting a lot of their stars, they're not even looking for a playoff spot. They're looking for where can we be seated? Who can we play? You know what I mean? It's one of those type of things, which is when was the last time the Browns could do that going into week 17?
I can't remember that.
Yeah, it used to be if we lose, where can what are the tiebreakers for the number 1 pick? What are the tiebreakers for the number 2 pick?
Yeah, now we have the tiebreakers of what position of our seating are we? So it's fun. We're finally in a playoff chase.
And you can say all you want. Well, the Browns aren't on the same level as the Chiefs or the Ravens or the Steelers. Just get to the playoffs.
Right.
That's all. That's it. Get to the playoffs.
Right. Yeah, we talked about it earlier in the season. They quit moving the goalposts. Getting into the playoffs is a huge accomplishment, and I don't understand. Yeah, we're not going to be the Chiefs in a year. We're not going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers in a year. We still have a lot to improve on, but we're 6-3, and we're fighting for playoffs. There's nothing better than that.
Yeah, and not only that, but it also just getting that winning mentality in the locker room. Even if you get free agents from other teams that are winning, it's a huge difference than having a winning mentality in the Cleveland Browns locker room and having players want to come here, have players want to come play for Myles Garrett, have players want to come play for Kevin Stefanski. It's just getting into the playoffs is just so huge.
Yeah, it's an underrated thing, having playoff experience, having a winning culture. That's why the Steelers continue to have a winning team every year. They have a culture. Like last year, they had no business being that good, but their culture got them that many wins. They had Duck Hodges, and I don't even remember the other guy's name.
Mason Rudolph. Myles Garrett remembers it.
Yeah. And they won way too many games that they should have. So it's winning cultures matter, coaching matters, and the organization matters. So getting to the playoffs would be a huge step for the Browns.
Plus, get to the playoffs, and what if you have a bad weather game like today? What if you have a game where it's a bunch of snow? What if you go have a game, say, at Buffalo, where there's a bunch of snow, and it all comes down to the running game, and they're leaning on 2 running backs that aren't that great, and you have Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt.
Right. Yeah.
They're Buffalo's best running back is Josh Allen, their quarterback. So it's just honestly, you want to make the playoffs and hope for bad weather first week of the playoffs.
Yeah. Which is not hard to hope for because it's late in the year like that. Yeah, just as baseball. It's a word saying in baseball, just get in and things can happen. Hey, that's what you can do in NFL too. Just get in and let's see how things happen.
Shout out to Michael Bodie. Baseball has been brought up twice. On the Browns Instant Insights WFNY podcast. That's for you, Mike. All right.
Just
Yeah.
zero.
So the Browns are 6-3. They're looking ahead to the Eagles next week at home. Joe's going to the game. So for his sake, I hope it's 75 and sunny. For Browns fans watching on the television, I hope it's 20 degrees and snowy.
Hey, I'm not. I don't even care about the cold or the. Just don't be like 100 miles per hour wind like it was the last 2 games. It's getting ridiculous on that, but yeah. Let's hope for running game weather here.
For sure. All right. So yeah, we'll be back with you guys a week from tonight. Hopefully discussing another win. That's so weird. We can just talk about the Browns potentially winning football games. It's awesome. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Me too.
Yeah, but hopefully Browns have a great chance to be 7-3 next week, which would be awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, Joe and I will be back with you next week for another edition of the WFNY's Instant Insights WFNY Podcast Edition, which is now 6-3 on the season. 6-3 since we made this podcast.
6-3, unbelievable. We are the factor.
We're the reason. We're the reason. Home field advantage? No. WFNY podcast advantage.
New coach? No. It's us.
It is us. No, but seriously. All right. Thanks for joining us, guys. Yeah, we'll see you next week. See ya.